Okay, we're about ready to begin.
Gentlemen? Y'all doing all right? Is it Japan?
I tell you, alarms up.
I think alarms that day, bro.
Just random ones.
Okay, we are joined now by Maryland players Jameer Young, Julian Reeves, and Hakeem Hart. So if you have questions, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Please remember to state your name and affiliation.
I guess first blush impressions on kind of everyone, just the amount of newness this year between new teammates, new head coach, and all that stuff, to navigating the extent of the season with everyone trying to figure each other out. What was that process like?
Yeah, I would just say just starting early, in the summer. A lot of new guys, new coach. So just trying to build that chemistry early with each other and with coach, and spending a lot of time, off the floor together. Whether that's playing on the game or going out and whether that's bowling or whatever it is, just trying to figure each other out and learn each other the best that we can, so we could get this rolling. So it really started early as soon as we all got here and got acclimated with the program.
We'll go to the front and then the back.
Hey guys, Jared McDonald with the Charleston Gazette-Mail. I guess jumping into West Virginia, what's the scouting report? What do you see on film that those guys do well?
That's a team that gets after it a lot. Physical team and a pretty physical conference. I'm sorry, and pretty physical conference. They like to hit guys in the mouth first. Play really physical and smash mouth basketball. And I feel like we just prepared well for that throughout the weekend. We'll do good against them.
Greg Hunter, Blue and Gold News. So with that said, what's key for you guys? What do you have to do well tomorrow?
I feel like for us to do well, we have to focus on rebounding the basketball, and focus on our defensive assignments, and get on in transition and play transition defense at our best ability.
Back to your left.
I'm sure you guys have been asked this often, but could each of you address the dynamic of your guys' home and away record and just trying to win away from the building and being more comfortable? Like, can you explain why there's such a separation there, or whatever you want to put it?
I would just say, it's tough. It's tough to win at home, and it's even tougher to win away. So, whether that's missing a block out, one less foul. We had a lot of games on the road where we lost by less than 5 points, or it came down to a few possessions. So I would just say just tightening up on those things, and just being able to finish out possessions, and just being a little bit mentally tougher on the road. Not having a crowd with us on the road and having them at home. It's a big difference, but at a neutral site, I feel like we have to emphasize that and be more focused on the mental part of it and being able to fight and come together.
Yeah, a little bit what Jameer said. Like a lot of away games, we let it get away with us from little things like one last block out with Penn State, and two bad fouls against Nebraska. And I feel like we fix those little things that we can get away with at home, like with the crowd, and we'll be good on the road.
Just playing in the NCAA tournament, nerves. I mean, what's this going to be like for you guys? Can you envision it?
Yeah, I'll just say just exciting. Keem's playing here, but me and Drew haven't played here, so just happy to be out here. Just growing up, just wanting to be out here, just watching March Madness, just knowing how many people are going to be watching, and the excitement that builds up just to playing. So I just feel like we're just going to be excited to get out there and compete. It could be any time, it could be our last game. So just trying to leave it all on the floor at the end of the day.
To your right.
Hakeem, can you just talk about what being back in the NCAA tournament means for you and Dante specifically?
It definitely means a lot. Like during your college career, this is what you want to do the most. You try to win championships, so it definitely means a lot to be here again.
Any more questions? Okay, gentlemen, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
just go right to questions.
Okay, we are ready to begin our press conference with Kevin Willard. We'll go straight to questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you, and please, before you ask a question, state your name and affiliation. In the very back.
So Kevin, just start with what you guys have to do. What are the nerves for guys that haven't played in this tournament before?
Yeah, I think everyone's really excited to be here. You know, for the guys that haven't played in it, I think it's a great experience. For us against West Virginia, we have to be really good in transition defense, and we have to be really good on the weak side rebounding. I think it's two areas that they excel at.
So I'll keep going and give my name early. Greg Hunter, Blue and Gold News. So West Virginia, Maryland haven't played often in recent years, but obviously you have a history. I mean, it was a while ago. Your thoughts of coaching against Hugs when you were at Seton Hall way back when, and then even before that, as a player at Pitt, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I have great respect for the fan base at West Virginia. Playing at Pitt was always a big game. It was such a passionate fan base. I said this before. I think Coach Huggins, there's a reason he's a Hall of Famer, is he hasn't stuck with the same style year in, year out. He's adapted to his team extremely well. They're always physical. They always rebound well. They always defend well. But this is a basketball team that's playing so much quicker than what he did back when I played against him 8-9 years ago when I was at Seton Hall. So I've always admired Coach Huggins in the way that he adapts offensively and defensively with his team.
Right here to your left.
Brendan Quinn with The Athletic. It's been like an endless conversation around the Big Ten for in recent years about translating from league play to tournament play and how things are officiated and all these things. And I imagine you're well aware. In terms of your first time making that transition, you know, what is your line of thinking on that of what translates, I guess?
I don't know. I got in trouble earlier this year because I made some comments that I probably shouldn't have made.
No one's watching this, so you're
Yeah,
good.
you know, Brad's here. Brad's just waiting for this. I can tell you now, going through a whole year of the Big Ten schedule, I can see a little bit. I think there's a couple negatives I found that I think hurts us in the NCAA tournament. I would say, although it's really cool finishing on Sunday right before Selection Sunday, having 4 of your best teams play at 12:30 and 2:30 after playing at night is a really, really hard thing for your technically 4 of your best teams to have to play Saturday when most leagues are done or championships are done Saturday. So the amount of rest that they get, I think it hurts them now that I've gone through the Big Ten tournament. And I'd also have to say the level of talent, top to bottom in the Big Ten, is something I'd never experienced. So I can tell you I think we get worn down as a league, has nothing to do with reffing, has nothing to do with scheduling. That's for you, Brad. I think what it has to do with is I think, we played 3 straight games, and we went against Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, Stephen Crowell, and then we had to come back a week and a half later and get Zach Edey and Hunter Dickinson again. So I think there's such good players, and it's a very physical league because of the size that's in the league. I do think as the year goes on, I saw it, you do get worn down. And then you have your conference tournament that ends on Sunday. Purdue won at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now they have to get ready to play in the NCAA tournament. It's really cool playing on CBS at that slot. I think I've watched every Big Ten championship game for as long as I can remember because it's really exciting. You're waiting for Selection Sunday. But I do feel the size of the league and the timing of the tournament. We lost to Indiana on Friday, and Indiana we were done at 11:30 at night. Indiana had to play at 1:30 in the afternoon. They're going to be shot. So I think that's from technically an outsider now being an insider. Those are my observations.
What do you think about just the nature of Big Ten basketball? It's interior oriented. It's typically slower tempos. It's things like that. It's a style of play it's officiated a certain way. Translating that against both matching up with a team from a different league, but then also the officiating, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I noticed, I thought this league was going to be slow. It's not a slow league. Michigan State gets up and down. Iowa gets up and down. We play pretty fast. I also think, matchups, we beat ourselves up, and, we have a lot of 7, 8, 9, 10 seeds. It's hard to get deep in the tournament when you're a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed just because of matchups. So, Coach Izzo's been to 7 Final Fours, so he's been right there. I look at Matt Painter, and as good a coach as he is, he's has opportunities. Being in this league now, I think we'll win a championship a lot sooner than people think. Terrific. Great seeing everybody. That's how, we still, sorry. That's how I end press conferences at home.
Hey, Coach, just a few things about, this season with all of the turnover, the transfers coming in, new guys coming in. Can you talk more about what those guys have meant to this team and for a lot of them making their first NCAA tournament with Maryland, also your first appearance in the tournament as head coach of this team?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this a lot. I think being very selective in the transfer portal and making sure that we brought kids in. Your first year in a program is really, really important. You want to lay down the foundation for what the future is going to be. You can bring kids in and try to knock it out of the park right away and try to do all this, and then year 2 you're really struggling, year 3 you're really struggling. We brought kids in who I thought were extremely high character, good players, but we're all wanted to try to help bring Maryland basketball back to a level that we could sustain. And I think guys like Don Carey, Jameer Young, Pat Emilian, those guys came in, Jahari Long, they all came in, they're high character kids. They complemented the guys that stayed from last year. And I think that's one reason we had success, and I think that's one reason we'll have continued success is, the foundation that these guys have laid will be passed on to next year's team and the team after that. And that's, we've created a great culture in a very short period of time, not because of anything besides having great kids.
Very back.
I thought I was out of here.
Not done yet. Kevin, obviously your dad is a coach. Talk to Hugs about this. His father was a coach. What is it that leads kids into the profession when their fathers were there? Because you guys see negatives as well as
Child
positives.
abuse. No, it's child abuse. My first memory, I've said this, my first memory of life is helping my dad revarnish St. Dominic's High School basketball gym. I was out there pouring the polyurethane while he was sweeping it. There's a reason I'm bald. My brother's bald because we were both in there as kids helping him. I've been around this game since I was, like I said, my first memory. That's my first memory of life is helping him in a gym. I was in the back of the van. All the guys at St. Dom's would try to get me to go up and make sure we could stop at McDonald's after a game. I love being around teams. I played the game growing up. I've pushed my sons to baseball, just because, I want them to try something different in life because this is a very hard profession. I think as a kid, and I played for my dad, so it's a little bit different. I saw a little bit of the negativity, but I think you only see the fun times. You get to go in the locker room, you get to be on the court, you get to go through warm-ups, you get to be I was a ball boy for the New York Knicks when I was 6th and 7th grade. It's like I'm sitting there next to Michael Jordan. You just remember that. You don't understand that, you got to deal with, one of your players' parents dying, and, you have to deal with that, and you have to deal with these kids and their stress that they go through. You don't see that as a kid. But I think I was very blessed to have such a great father that included me in all those things. And I was very blessed to play for him because I think he's one of the best coaches that ever coached.
Back to your left.
You're not going to ask about referees again,
I
are you?
no Big Ten. I won't. There will be no calls from Chicago. Don't worry. when programs typically, oftentimes I should say, hire from family, right, and the coaching tree or someone who played there, blah, blah, blah. When you're kind of a relative outsider coming into a place with the history of Maryland that people feel like they have ownership of, whether it's ex-players and all this stuff, kind of like that's something we don't see. Is I imagine a lot coming at you from people who want to have a hand in the future and things like that. And can you just kind of explain what it's like to kind of be in that position of wanting to coach your program, but also realizing there's like a million people who feel they have their hands on it?
So I guess, growing up in New York, playing college basketball in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Coach Williams really had this program, rolling. I think I was very lucky that I had a very good sense of history of Maryland basketball. So I was definitely an outsider because, coming from Seton Hall, being from New York. But I had a great sense of the history. And when I got this job, I always say this, like I wanted to meet Stevie Francis. I wanted to hang out with Coach Williams. I wanted to play golf with Coach Williams, even though everyone said don't go play golf with him because he's miserable. I looked at it as a little bit. I was a fan of what the history of this program was, and it was such an honor for me to be able to sit in this seat that I wanted to embrace everything that came with that. I wanted to meet every former player. I wanted to talk to every alum. Scott Van Pelt's. I got to have lunch on the first day of the job with Scott Van Pelt, and I'm sitting there going, that's Kevin Plank, owner of Under Armour, and I'm sitting there having dinner with him, and I'm thinking, I think you have to embrace that. You have to understand and embrace the magnitude of the job, and we have such a great. Not only do we have great former players from the '60s, '70s, '80s, but we also, Mark did such a great job recruiting in the 2010s and 11s, that generation too. Those guys are all playing. So to embrace Lefty's guys, Gary's guys, Mark's guys, we've had 3 coaches in the last 50 years, 60. It's been something amazing. So I knew the history of the program. I loved the history of the program. I was a fan watching the championship in 2000, 2001, the Final Four. So I think that really helped me embrace this great tradition. I think it's helped me coach and understand what kind of style that I needed to play to kind of get this fan base back behind us. And that was really the main. I was just a big fan, to be honest with you. Now am I done? Awesome.
You're done. See that? Thank you very much.